Hello everyone, I'm Christopher Harper and I'll be your instructor for this online course. Now I know that most of you have taken online courses before, but this one's a little bit different. It's what's called an asynchronous class, and it's kind of a mixture between an online class and an independent study. We don't meet via Zoom or other electronic means other than via Canvas. And what we'll do here is that I will communicate with you each week via Canvas on what's on for this week. I'll usually post that a couple of days before the week starts. There'll be a number of discussions that we have via an online discussion board. Keep in mind this is the only place where you can earn extra credit. So I'll go through that as we go along during the semester. There'll be a number of papers that are due, and so it's easy to fall behind, and it just kind of goes head over heels until you just got too much to do. So set out a plan for yourself each week. I'll try to help you devise that so that you can keep up and you can learn as much as possible in the course. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I'm always available via charper, CHARPER at temple.edu, and via Canvas. You can contact me there. And if you want to, we can meet via Zoom or via telephone, and I'm basically here to lead you through the process. So let's get started. You'll find the syllabus on Canvas. It's the home page for journalism, class number 3101, Journalism Law and Ethics. I don't hold specific times for office hours, but you can always reach me via email, charper@temple.edu, or via Canvas, and we can chat on the phone or via Zoom or via email, as you prefer. So the course is a foundation course in personal freedom and professional protection. Through critical thinking, legal reasoning, research, and problem solving, you should be better able to understand the foundation for freedom of expression and should be able to apply the law to contemporary issues. You'll discuss cases and their ethical implications as well to better understand how judicial values are linked to the work of mass media professionals and the freedom of expression of citizens. Now, one thing, and you'll hear me say this a lot, what's legal may not be ethical, and what's ethical may not be legal. So there's, while the foundation of law may in some cases be ethics, and sometimes the foundation of ethics may be law, it's pretty important to keep the two separate. A lot of students and a lot of people tend to make an ethical argument when talking about the law, and the law really is what you should do, and ethics are what are, the law is what you have to do, and ethics are what you should do. So there's no text for this class. We'll be reading a lot of abstracts and analyses of court decisions. It's highly recommended that you buy the premium version of Grammarly.com. It costs about $60 for a quarter. If you make 3 errors or more of punctuation, grammar, or style, you'll face a deduction of 10% on your overall grade on your assignments. Those are the case abstracts and analyses, which I'll talk about, and final paper, which I'll talk about in a bit. My rationale for grading on grammar, punctuation, and style is that if you study journalism or an associated field, you should be able to write properly. To succeed in the class, students must be active learners. The instructor's role is to guide students' discovery and discussion, encourage inquiry, and assess understanding. The class discussion will focus on applying ethical and legal points that shape the parameters of communication law. Some of these issues are tough, and just as a warning, be careful in your language towards one another. Don't be highly critical, but some of these are difficult issues, and I don't want you to stray away because of political correctness, I guess I'll call it. Be frank, but be thoughtful of your fellow students and of me. The video lectures can be found under Studio down here, or also via a playlist on YouTube. Now, as I noticed earlier, serious First Amendment discussions often include references to unpopular ideas and offensive expression. although we will not hide from hard questions and harsh language, everyone in the class should remain sensitive to individual differences. And also some of the subject matter is quite harsh. I mean, we will be talking about American Nazis and their ability to win cases in court. We'll be talking about the Westboro Baptist Church, which is a horrible place, but also they've been able to win cases. The Ku Klux Klan. So that there's some tough issues that we will face here. So in terms of the materials, there's a legal research exercise which you can find under quizzes, which is in the second week. It's worth 5%. CAFE briefs, essentially there's a separate discussion of what these are, but basically you follow a very precise format, and you give the title of the case, the justice or judge who wrote the majority opinion, and a brief synopsis of what the case was about. Then we have one of those for 10%. Then we have 2 impact analyses, and these are worth 15% of your overall grade, or 13%. The first part of this is the case brief or abstract, and then you go to academic and legal sources to determine the importance of this case. Here's a point about sources. The popular press doesn't count as a source. The American Bar Association doesn't count as a source. I'm looking here for law journals and academic journals, which you can find under those subject titles in the library. If you haven't worked with these before, you can contact a librarian or look through the library site to specifically find law journals, which are under secondary sources, and academic journals. That's what I'm looking for here. There's a final paper worth 20%. We agree on the topic. We'll get to this somewhat later, but it has to be as specific as possible. There are 2 exams. They're obviously open book. They're timed, and they are listed under quizzes. The discussion board counts towards 15% of the overall grade, and I will post 2 questions for you to address with a minimum of 200 words per answer each week. And this is where, by posting a third post of 100 words, you can earn extra credit. And this is the only opportunity for extra credit, so you need to take advantage of it. The discussion board you can't turn in late, but other late work, with the exception of the exams, only the case brief, the impact analyses, and not the final paper, you can turn these in for up to 70% of the possible points if they're handed in within a week of the original assignment. You know, you need to pace yourself, you need to keep up with the work, and you know, I'll give you 70%, but I'm not going to accept much late work except under extenuating circumstances. And you've got to tell me if something goes wrong, a death in the family, an illness, something like that. Please tell me as soon as possible. The grade distribution. Here's a broader description of the case abstract, so reading and interpreting the work and reasoning of a judge or justice. And here, a justice is only a U.S. Supreme Court justice. The rest of the people are generally judges. Will help you understand how the courts balance competing interests and decide the boundaries we must follow. These assignments will help you locate and understand a judge or a court's reasoning to the extent that you can explain that ruling in writing and discussing it with others. Each student will be assigned 3 court decisions. These cases must be read in their entirety. The best place to look for these is Westlaw. It's part of the Temple Library System online. There is a tutorial on how to use Westlaw, which I will post in the first and second weeks. So you upload these abstracts via Canvas. Then there are 2 with impact analyses. So for these assigned cases, you do the case brief, which is 350 to 500 words, and then you complete a 600 to 800 word documented impact analysis for the case. The They should be in one document. The analysis is to be a research-based assessment of implications of the legal points from this assigned case. This document should not be your personal opinion on whether the court ruled correctly. You need to include authoritative support and reasoning related to the significance of the court's ruling has for the public or for journalists. At least 2 law journals should be used to explain the significance of the ruling with complete citations to support your analysis. Please note that material from newspapers and magazines does not qualify as an authoritative source, but can be used as 3rd or 4th sources after the 2 primary sources. Let me give you an example of an impact analysis. So let's take Sullivan versus the New York Times. It's one of the most important cases in journalism. Essentially, it boils down to Sullivan was the nominal head of police in Montgomery, Alabama. The New York Times ran an advertisement which had numerous errors, and the implications were essentially made it out that Sullivan was a really bad guy. Sullivan sued for libel. It made it through the Alabama state court systems, where he won unanimously in each of the cases. Then it went to the U.S. Supreme Court. And what happened there is that the U.S. Supreme Court determined that public officials, such as Mr. Sullivan, should be held to a higher standard in their ability to win a libel case, that private citizens were different. Public officials, government officials had to show that the journalistic institution engaged in reckless disregard of the truth. And so it made it more difficult for public officials to win libel cases. As a result, the states adopted similar versions that followed this decision, and so it essentially, the impact, the long and short of it was that it provided greater provision for journalists to investigate government officials without the fear of immediate repercussion for libel. The final paper is 2,000 words. It's something that you send an idea to me several weeks beforehand. We agree on going ahead with it. And again, it's basically a traditional research paper, which I'm sure many of you have done. The 2 exams are worth 10% of the final grade. They'll focus on legal principles, readings, and cases. As noted before, these exams are under quizzes on Canvas. There's a week-by-week breakdown of how things work. These are cases that you either read abstracts of, or in some cases you read cases in their entirety. Now, these citations will be explained in a separate lecture, but Citizens United sued the Federal Elections Commission. It had to do with the amount of money that could be used in political campaigns. 558 is the chapter in which the case exists in a physical library. U.S. means that it's the U.S. Supreme Court reporter. It starts on page 310, and the case was determined in 2010. This is exactly how it needs to be written. Okay, so as I said, there's a separate lecture on that, so I won't go into it too deeply here. So just going over, I tend to send out, going over to the navigation here, I tend to send out a lot of announcements. I will send out what's on for the next week about 2 or 3 days before Monday. The assignments are here. The discussion board is here. The legal research and the 2 tests are under quizzes. The library is a link to the Temple Library. Files are the PowerPoints that I use if you want to look over them without listening again to the lectures. And you will find, as I said, that under Studio are the video lectures that you will read, that you will listen to each week. So that's it for now. Thanks very much, and we'll see you online.